Hey guys, it's Ryan with My Listing Club. In this video, I'm excited to show you something I've been working on for the past few days for the upcoming Fit starter site that is set to launch probably at the end of this month. It has everything to do with completely customizing the My Listing login registration experience. So right now, out of the box, My Listing gives you very limited options as far as what you can do with the login and register page. So if we look at, for example, one of the demo websites from the MyListing developers, and we click on sign in, we see that it's very basic. They're not even using the login background setting within the theme settings themselves on this particular site. It's just the straight out of the box default option. So as you can see, pretty basic stuff. On this starter site that I built, if you go to the sign in page of this site, all I really did on this one was toggle on that setting for a custom login background. So that creates this big login image on the right, and then it shifts the forms to the left-hand side as we see here. This is a much better look than this, in my opinion. There is something to be said for simplicity. I'll give them that. But this kind of spruces things up just that much more. However, even once you do this, you are still extremely limited. Yeah, you can change the background image here. You can maybe apply some CSS and do something. You can do some things with the forms over here. But you're very limited in what you can do. Adding functionality, unless you are a developer, is extremely difficult. So what I wanted to set out to do with this new starter site was make it so you had the full power of Elementor behind you to add design, features, whatever you want into these pages, okay? So that's what we're going to get into today. One more thing I wanted to point out, and it's specifically around the social login aspects of My Listing. You are at the mercy of the vendors. In this case, it's Google and it's Facebook and the My Listing developers. Basically what they're going to do with the theme, or what they do with the theme, is they embed these iframes, which you see here on the screen, Google and Facebook here, regardless of whether it's this one or it's what I've got here, okay? So the problem with this is you cannot adjust the design, and you cannot fix things like what we're seeing on the screen here, which is this text for the Google sign-in is clearly larger than the Facebook. So if you're like me and you like things to be consistent and you know just look good across everything, then that's why I set out to do what I did, or one of the reasons why. I just like things to look uniform and look just cohesive, and be able to have the flexibility to redesign some stuff. The other thing is I think it was two minor revisions ago of the My Listing theme, they made some changes to the Google login especially, and it produced some errors that I reported, and they are supposedly working on it. I wouldn't say I got fed up with it. I wanted to have a little bit more control over things. So it's one of the reasons why I set out to do this. Is now I can do my own thing with the logins and not necessarily rely on what the developers are doing or not doing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and shut these down here. Last bit of housekeeping before we dive into this. If you go to the My Listing Club website, that's mylisting.club, go up under the menu and resources. The last 5 items here deal with what we're talking about today. The first 3 here shown are the 3 page templates that we're going to get into in this video. So you can download those already pre-made, ready to go. This 4th one over here is how to easily duplicate a post or page with Elementor. I wanted to document this as it came up as I was building all this stuff out. It's just without a code snippet or a plugin, without the need of either one of those things, you can easily and quickly duplicate an entire Elementor-based page or post. So I show you how to do that. And then the last one is the big one, and that's the guide that I'm going to be following and reproducing all this stuff I'm going to show you today. So definitely check out this guide. I'm not going to follow it verbatim in this video. I'll try to do as much as I can, but I don't want to keep everybody here all day. When you look at the guide, it may look overwhelming, but that's just because I took literally 3 days going through and testing all of this stuff, documenting everything to make it easy for you guys, giving you some tips, tricks, all that kind of stuff, best practices. So definitely check that out to go along with this video, okay? Okay, so let's go ahead and close this down. What we're looking at here is the upcoming Fit starter site, and this is the design that we're going to replicate for the most part in this video. I'm not going to get it identical because, again, just for the sake of time, but you can download this template ready to go. What I wanted to show when I built this was how to pretty much copy what I showed you with that starter site. So I'll pull that back up here again. So we see here, big image on the right, form and everything on the left. So you can see it's pretty similar. So that's what I wanted to kind of show you. That's how easy that is to do, okay? Another thing I wanted to point out here is the social logins here. So when you use the free plugin, the WP Social Login, which we're going to use here, it has some beautiful login buttons, which I'll show you. I just took those and iterated on them for the sole purpose of showing you that you can do more. You don't have to just do with what comes out of the box. And again, unlike with what MyListing provides, you can put CSS against this and design it however you want. I just used the WP Social Logins icons to start, buttons to start, and just built off of those. And what I did was I took my gradient that I'm using for this site, this purple on the left, bluish in the middle, green on the right, and I just created buttons that kind of followed that gradient. And if you look above that, I created another custom button that does the same thing, left to right, purple, blue, green. So just following the branding. I really just wanted to show everybody that was possible. You didn't have to just go with Google's colors, Facebook's colors, and LinkedIn's colors in this example. You can do whatever you want. Okay, so I'll go ahead and leave that up. Now I've got pulled up my test site. It's a clean MyListing site. The only thing that I've done before this video is install and activate WP Social in Actions Pack. Actions Pack is one of the big stars here. It's not to take anything away from WP Social by any means, because this is adding some awesome value, but Actions Pack is the bread and butter here. It's where a lot of the functionality comes from. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. I'm going to try to do most of this, like I said, from memorization, just to save us time. And if I go too fast, I apologize. Just use the guide along with this video, okay? I'll try to keep it slow. So I went over why you might want to do this, why, how MyListing is limited and how we can get around those limitations. I want to quickly cover what we're going to gain again by doing this. You're going to have the full power of Elementor to completely customize the design and functionality of the MyListing's login and registration experience. Lots of stuff there that I go into in the guide. If you want to read that again. Registration options like user verification, adding custom fields, URL redirection, all that opens up to you. You'll have the ability to fully customize the social login experience, including the ability to add more login providers than what MyListing gives you. You can use custom buttons, custom styling, and more. Another really cool byproduct is you can eliminate plugins and or code snippets that provide URL redirection functionality. So if you want to do a redirection based on role, a redirection just on general login, on registration, and this thing even does user verification. So lots of really cool stuff. That's why I say the Actions Pack piece of this is really the star of the show. Things to note, Elementor Pro is required because we are dealing with the Forms widget. That is only part of the Pro version. A separate but free plugin provides the social login feature, which I've already mentioned. The one caveat here that I see is the user role switching won't be available. So I'll show you what that is. So if we go to the MyListing demo, go to the sign-in page, register, you'll see this choose role option. That is not available in what we're doing here. Now, I wouldn't let this completely detour you. If this is something that you have to have in your business, there are ways to get this in there. I wouldn't let this discourage you. Okay. And then obviously, if you don't use this feature, then there's no caveats here. Everything's just going to be great out of the box for you. Okay. Last thing I want to note is that Action Pack is 22% off for club members. You can get that. There's a discount link in the guide. Okay. Another unique thing about Actions Pack is all of the settings are stored in the Elementor form. So there's no separate settings that you need to go to like you're used to seeing with plugins. Okay. So the first thing we need to do to get started after we get the plugins installed and activated, we need to create some pages. So let's create our first page. First one we want to do is the login page. And up to you what you want to do here. I like to set the default template to be Elementor Canvas. And what that does is it hides the header and the footer and keeps everything kind of distraction free. The users can always hit the back button if they need to get going somewhere else. So that's what I would do there. I'm going to go ahead and publish this page. And we're going to edit this with Elementor. Okay, next up, we want to set the background of this page to white. So for that, we go Settings in the lower left of the Elementor side panel, Style. We're going to change this to white. You'll see why in a minute. Okay, next up, we want to add the structure to our page. We're going to click this plus symbol icon. We're going to choose this layout, so smaller on the left and then bigger on the right. Now that we're editing this section, we want to set the content width to full width, and we want to set the height to minimum height, VH, that's view height, and set that to 100%. Okay, so that gives us that full height page there. Next up is our left column. We want to edit the column settings, and we want to also set the background color of this to white. Okay, next up is our Elementor form. So we want to grab the form widget, drop that in there. Now we need to manipulate these fields that Elementor adds by default, just so they work with what we're trying to do here. So we need a username, a password, and a remember me option to save the credentials. So the first one up here we want to do is we want to edit the name field that comes with this. And we want to change name to username. Put that same in for the placeholder. We want to make this required. We want to click on the advanced tab, and we want to set the ID so it's easily identifiable and referenceable, if that's even a word, referenceable. What we're doing here, we want to set that to username. Now we want to edit the email field, and for this one we want to do password. So change email to password. We'll type password in for our label, and same thing as we did with the other field. We just want to put that in for the placeholder, and we want it to be required. We want to change the ID to password. Okay, then last up is we want to edit the message field. We want to change this to a checkbox. So from text area to a checkbox. Our label is going to be remember me. We want, under the advanced section, we want the ID to be remember underscore me. Okay, so that takes care of our fields. We want to hide the labels. As you can see here, we've got the labels displaying above the fields. So we just want to take those off. So we toggle that off. Next thing we want to do here is under the buttons. We don't want to say send because they're logging in, right? So we want to change this to something like log in. And then next up under actions under submit, we don't want to collect submissions because again they're just logging into the site, and we don't want an email either. So we just want to switch this to login. And login comes about when you have Actions Pack installed and activated. Okay, that's going to unlock this login function, this login action here. So we're going to click that, and then here you have options. You can do send an ID and password. You can do an ID and a one-time password, which is kind of like a one-time code. You can send over SMS, for example. And then another option, ID and password and one-time password. We're just going to do the traditional thing here and just do ID and password. For user ID, we want to set this to be our username. For password, we want to set this to be password. And for remember me, set that to, you guessed it, remember me. Okay? Next up is the redirection. And for that, we're going to click that. This is a really powerful feature here. So normally you need like code snippets, individual code snippets, or plugins to make this happen. So one really important thing to note here is you as the admin, once we implement this, are going to log in the same as everybody else, but you will be redirected to the admin page, okay? So you just want to grab the admin URL for WordPress and drop that in for the administrator, okay? If you have editors, you'll do the same thing, okay? Now there's other things you can do. If you don't want the editor to necessarily go to the dashboard, you could send them to a front end page with, maybe it's a front end form or something that they can use to create a blog post or a listing or whatever it is. Totally up to you. Same thing with author, whatever you want to do there. Contributor, that's hardly ever used. So I'm going to skip that for now. Subscriber is the role that someone gets when they've signed up for your site as far as a purchase or they've gotten into your sales funnel. So it could even be a free listing package or a free listing subscription, or a paid one. So that's when that happens. It's kind of confusing, but by default, the customer role is what people get just by registering on your site, whether they've purchased anything or not. It's kind of confusing, but it is what it is. So you just can determine what URLs that you want to use there, okay? Whatever works for your business. And then, of course, if you're doing anything with like product vendors or anything, you can redirect those people where you want to redirect them, okay? So for now, we'll just roll with this one. Let me make sure, check my notes real quick. That looks good. Additional settings. So we need to configure those. We want to display a login link. A log out link, just in case somebody stumbles upon the page, the login page or whatever, and they want to log out, that sort of thing. You want to redirect people back to your login page when they log out. As you can see, kind of like a little placeholder in there that's kind of grayed out, but that's what you want to do. So full URL and then login. And then you want to do the same for this other one here, URL to redirect default login page. So this is a very important one. So when someone clicks that link now for my listing, if you're not using a custom Elementor header, for example, and you're using the default MyListing header, if they go to click on that sign and register function, it's gonna put them now into the action pack system, which is just a really cool feature. The logout template, I'll let you read the guide to read more about that, but I'm just going to copy and paste what I provide to you guys in the guide. So I'm just going to drop that right in here. It's basically, you can add HTML to this template. So I'm adding an icon, the short code that Action Pack needs to use, and that sort of thing. Okay. So saving that. What else? Oh, yeah. So another important piece is this warning here. So under additional settings, what you want to do is just document this somewhere. Copy this URL somewhere, probably the helper text here too. Just copy that somewhere so you have it, okay? The other thing I want to mention too, circling back, is the redirection. If you're using a plugin like Perf Matters or any other plugin or code snippet that changes the default WordPress admin URL, you'll want to put that in here instead of just the default WP admin. So just make sure you have the right URL in there. Okay. Next up is the additional options and custom messages. So what I did is I cleared out the success message and the error message. And the reason I did that was because if you don't clear out the success message, then you're going to see a message that says the form was sent successfully. And that's just not something you want to show people when they've submitted the login form. It's kind of odd. And then for the error message, I just cleared that out entirely because otherwise you're going to see duplicate message. You're going to see an error occurred, and then another message is going to be what the actual error is. So that also looks odd. I've tested all of it and just determined those are the two just to clear those out. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save my changes there. Next up is social login. If you're already using the social login feature of MyListing, you'll want to turn that off. So that's under Theme Tools and then Social Login. So just go in here and toggle those off if you have them. The good news is if you've already got these two working, you are well on your way here, because those are complicated to get going. They can be. I've got a guide on how to set those up, but they're constantly changing things, it seems like. So you got to stay on top of it. But if you got those two things ready to go, like you're ahead of the game as far as those two providers goes. Okay. Yeah, so we're using the free version of WP Social Login. Club members get a 10% off the Pro version. What the Pro version does, which you'll see in a second, is it unlocks a lot of styling options. If you're really good at CSS, you can do things on your own, but you're likely never going to get to what the Pro version can offer you. So something to think about there. All right, so let's go ahead and get into WP Social here. So for that, we are going to go to WP Social and then Social Login. And the first one that we want to mess with is under this global settings here. And we want to do a custom login redirect. That's the only one we mess with on this page at this time. Now you might want to do some extra things, but that's what I did. Yeah, so just like we're redirecting people when they use the action pack form, the elementary form, if they use social login, we want to redirect them somewhere. We don't want to just leave them sitting there. So for this, just choose what makes sense to you. Totally up to you. I'm going to make it the home page for now. Next up is the providers. So let me save changes here just in case. Next up is providers. And as you can see here, unlike MyListing, you've got a lot more options. So let's go ahead and toggle on Facebook, Google, and LinkedIn, because that's what I did for here on the Fit Starter site. Another really cool feature is you can drag these in the order that you want. So I did Google, Facebook, and then LinkedIn. So that's a really cool thing. With MyListing, you have no control. I mean, you could get a code snippet from the guys, the developers, but not sure there. So then once you have that, you click the settings for each provider. You follow the instructions. Another really cool thing is that you can't do with MyListing is you can change the button text. Change it to whatever you want. Google login with Google, login Google, just change it to Google, whatever you want to do there. Really cool stuff. Then they give you some extra short codes that you can try out. So really cool stuff there. And then under style settings, I went with the default and just built upon that, like I said, with CSS. So I went with these three, this setup, and then looking back here again, and I just took some CSS at these, okay? So with the Pro version, you can get these other three options and then any designs that they're gonna have in the future. Okay, so what we want to do is go back to the global settings tab of WP Social Login. We want to grab this very first shortcode up here. We're going to copy that. We're going to go back to our login form. We're going to add a shortcode widget. Drop that below the form. Paste in that shortcode we just copied. There we go. Just like that, we've got our social login in there. Next up is the reset password. So for that, I do drop in an icon list widget, sorry. Drop that in below the social login. Delete all but one item. Edit that last remaining item. We're going to call that reset password. We'll change the icon to a lock. Okay, and then our the link that we want to use for that is our full domain, and then dash, here, I'll show you here. So full domain / lost password. And we're going to create this page shortly. Oops, if I could tie it. Just like that. Okay, that takes care of the left-hand column. I'll go ahead and just add, for fun, just a little bit of padding here. I can't recall off the top of my head what I did on the starter site, but if you get the template, it's already in there. All right, we'll just roll with that for now. And then in the right-hand column, we're going to, this is where that big background is going to live. For this, we're going to edit the column. We're going to drop in a background. Okay, but as you can see, it's not going full height. It's just kind of sitting there. So we want to blow that up so it takes up the whole screen. To do that, we're going to add the spacer widget. We're going to set that to a view height of 100%. Okay, so that gets us our image blown up there. We want to go back and edit that column again. We want to set the image to be cover, so it takes up that whole area. Okay, like that. We want to set the column width to be 75%. So give us this left column here of 25%, and then all of this other right-hand space, 75%. All right, so then next up, what else we got here? Yeah, this one's a little, not tricky, but it's a little more complex. By default, MyListing will give you a logout link that looks, it's got some funky stuff in there. So we need to find and grab our logout URL, okay? So to do that, let's go ahead and save this. Let's view our login page on the front end. So what we want to do is we want to grab this link, copy that link, and we want to go to our menu, so WordPress menu, so appearance, and then menus. Now, by default, if you do nothing here, MyListing will use all of the WooCommerce endpoints. It'll dump all of them into your WooCommerce menu. That's the menu you see in the back end with your analytics, your listings, and account information and all that. I recommend not doing that anyway, regardless if you follow this guide or do what we're doing here. It creates too much noise for people, and usually you don't need all of those endpoints. Or if you are going to do that, I would recommend doing it like I'm about to show you, because then that way you can throw some CSS at it to hide certain things based on role, which I highly recommend. For example, you don't need to show the billing information endpoint to someone that's just logging in to view listings and bookmark them and that sort of thing. All right. So let's create a menu. Let's call it WooCommerce. Very important piece here. Make sure you check this box, okay? And click create to create the menu. You can add whatever endpoints you want here. For now, I'm just going to add this logout endpoint. And I'm going to paste in that URL that you saw me copy just a bit ago. There we go. So just like that, we've now integrated our logout into Actions Pack. Let me save this. Let me show you something I was talking about a second ago. Under screen options, if you enable CSS classes, for example, and now we look at that same logout field, we have a CSS class. You can now use I've got this on the club website, a very, very simple code snippet to hide certain things based on role, whether, whatever. It's really simple stuff. I highly recommend you hide certain menu items from certain roles. Just get that menu like really cleaned up so that people aren't seeing what they don't need to see. Okay, so let's pretend we've fully built out our WooCommerce menu. So we are done there. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Let me refresh this. It looks like some things didn't come over, so like our header and stuff in there. So that's because we didn't import my template. If you would have imported my template, it would have all been done. But, you know, obviously, you just go in here. If you've ever designed with Elementor, you know how it goes. So add your header in there. Change the size, What else? Got to figure out why those buttons aren't in there. Okay, we've got our social login shortcode in there. Let me think of why that's not showing it, because we're already in. So let's look at this as someone that's not logged in. There we go. Okay. So that's looking pretty darn close. There we go. So that is looking pretty darn close. The one thing that's missing here is the button, the create account button. So we can quickly add that. So for that, just add a button, or you can do whatever you want. You can do another icon list, whatever you want. That's the beauty of all of this. It just really opens up a lot of doors. We'll just do it, you know, quick and dirty here. Create account. You know, whatever you want to do there. Obviously, the styling's not where you would want this to be, but you get the idea. So sorry about that. I'm going to add this back. The problem with my video, I'm waiting on an update for those guys, but my video viewer recorder gets in the way of Elementor, so it kind of sucks. But we'll just call this register for now. Okay, let's bring back this page. There you go. So style this however you want. You have the freedom to do whatever you want. And like I said, if you're not using my template, which is ready to go, you can inspect this stuff. Just get in there and do whatever the hell you want with the CSS. I mean, it's pretty awesome stuff. So we see here, that's where that blue color is coming from, right there. You know, just change that to red. You know, wherever you want to do. You can mess with the icon, change the icon color to light blue, or, you know, whatever, red again, whatever you want to do. Really awesome, powerful stuff. Okay, so just like that, we've got the login page. Now, if you type in, let's just say a username and then like, you'll see here, you entered wrong credentials, try again. You can change this text with Loco Translate. You can change the color using Elementor. All kinds of really cool stuff, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and move this screen off. So now we have our login page ready to go. We don't need to recreate the wheel necessarily. So what we can do is I'm gonna show you this trick. I'm going to create a new page. I'm going to call this register. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to set this to Elementor Canvas to hide the header and footer. Edit this with Elementor. Now, rather than build this all out from scratch, Again, you might want to do that. This opens up so many cool doors for you to do whatever you want. You don't have to use that same login register page every time that MyListing presents you. Let me show you a cool trick. If you scroll down to the bottom of a page that's already made or a post, right click, copy all content, go back to the new page, paste that right in there. Everything's ready to go. Isn't that cool? I think that's cool stuff. So the next thing we want to do is, like we did before, we need to change the page settings. Get that white background in there so everything looks cohesive. There we go. Okay, so let me go back and reference my guide and see where we are at. We're on the registration page, obviously. We've done the background type. In our left column, we need to address the element or form. A note here is that when I build my listing sites, I choose to have username and passwords automatically generated based off the email. And the reason I do that is just to make onboarding that much easier for people. And if you think about it, if we're talking about social logins here, what do they require? Nothing. Literally, you click a button. So if you're willing to use social login, why are you not willing to auto-generate passwords and usernames? Something to really think about here, okay? So we're going to edit this form, because right now it's the login form. We need it to be a register form. So edit the form, remove all but one field. Edit that one field that's remaining, and we're going to change the type to email. If I can find it here, email. We're going to change the label to email, just like we did before. We want it to be required, obviously, and under advanced, we want to set that ID to email. Okay. Next up is the buttons. We don't need it to say, want it to say login because we need them to register. So let's call this register for now. Under actions and submit, we don't want them logging in. So now we need them to register. So remove login, add register. That unlocks the register action. Click on the register action. Under user role, we want to choose the default role, and by default, it's customer by default with MyListing. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose that here again. So customer, the username, we're going to do like we did before. We're going to map these. This time, username gets mapped to the email. Password also gets mapped to the email. Okay, but we're going to auto-generate it. So we're going to toggle that on. Okay, and we can leave that setting as is. And then email, we're going to map that to email, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to, but now we're going to, since it's email to email, we don't have to do anything else as far as like mapping. But verification, we want to enable that. We want to do the verification by a link. So this is going to email a link to them once they register, and they have to click on that link. Now specify a URL to send them to once they sign up. Okay, we want that to be that same login URL. And then up to you if you want this next setting, if you want to get notifications as the admin. Well, I take that back. This is a different setting. We definitely want to toggle this on. This is the notification. This gets sent to the user. So this is really important. Definitely toggle that on. Change the name, whatever you want, who the email's from, the subject, whatever you want there. And then I like to set this to be HTML. And then if you use the guide, if you follow the guide, I give you a code snippet. Or not even a code snippet, it's just some text in HTML to use. And you can just drop that right in here. And because it's HTML, you can bold some things, put some breaks in there, all that kind of thing. So I'm basically saying thank you for registering and taking this important step towards your fitness journey. Break. Let's bold the username label, and then we're going to use the short code that we're given by Action Pack to display their username. Then we're going to show their password in bold as a label, and then give them their password. And then please click on the link below to confirm your registration. And we're doing a couple line breaks again. And then using the Action Pack short code, we are inserting their link. confirmation link to click on. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. I'll give you a screenshot in the guide just so you know you've got everything set up. Let me show you what that email looks like when it comes across. And of course, I think I deleted it. There we go. So this is what it's going to look like when it comes across. So you'll see the message at the top, username, the password, and then their confirmation link. Okay. Pretty cool stuff. And you can do whatever you want. Design it however you want. All right. So next up, up to you. Oh, this is really cool stuff. Like, I didn't go this far, but obviously if you want to show a phone number, if you want to put additional fields in here, you can do all kinds of crazy stuff in here. Okay. Really cool stuff. So check that out. If you want to manually verify everybody, you can set that up instead of doing the email route. Under additional settings, we want to do the redirection, toggle the redirection on. And then we want to redirect, to the desired location. I take that back. What did I do there? You know what? I need to upgrade my guide. I think I turned this off. I think I turned all of this stuff off. Let me see here. Yeah, I toggled all this stuff off. And the reason was, once they hit the register page and they register, I want them to sit there and see a message that says, go check your inbox. And then when they go check their inbox, they're going to get that confirmation link, click on it, and it's going to take them where they need to go. So that's right. I need to update that part of my guide. Next up is additional options down here. Again, because it's pulling in our copied settings from our login page, you may or may not need to adjust things here. What I did was say here, I changed what was there to this, which I provide in the guide. Check your inbox to confirm registration. Otherwise, the wording is going to be something like the form was sent successfully. It's just a weird thing to show. For the error message, I cleared that out entirely, again, for the same reason. It's redundant. It's going to show like redundant error messages. Okay. I make a note about verified users. Once you start getting users into your dashboard, you'll see here there's a column for is verified. So that's gonna allow you to see who's verified and who's not. So that's pretty cool. The reset password option is not needed for a register page. So you can just get rid of this, and you don't need the register button again because it's duplicating. So you can get rid of that. All right, so I think that is good there. Let's go ahead and see how this looks. So we've got our login page. Let's duplicate this. Oh, you know what? Let's just click on the link. So let's click register. So they don't have an account. We're going to click register. Let's refresh this. Okay, register's not going anywhere, so let's fix that together. So we're going to go back to our login page, and we'll figure out why register is not going anywhere, and it's because there's no link. So that'll do it every time. All right, so let's drop in that link to our register page. All right, let's try this again, refresh. Boom, there we go. Okay, so now we've got a register page. What if we put in a bogus email? Click the button. We're going to get an error message in there. You can log in with social here. Assuming those will all work. You can style those, like I said again. Apply some CSS. So that's done for all intents and purposes. If we go back to our login page, we are not actually logged in because we haven't registered or anything, but let's go ahead and let's register somebody. So there we go. There's our custom message. Check your inbox to confirm your registration. My email just came in and it's got my username and password, but I need to confirm my registration. So let's just pretend like I followed that link. This is the link they would follow. And there we go. So now we are back to the login screen, right? Now we can put in the credentials that it gave us. Okay, and we can log in. And of course, if they just wanted to skip all that and just do social login, they could do that. Okay, so there we go. So now you are logged in. We've got a logout button. I use some CSS to hide, and I can provide that to you guys. I'll add it to the guide when I'm done here. But what I like to do to these elements right here, both of these, is add a CSS class and just a simple line of CSS that says, if the person is logged in, don't show them these two widgets right here, okay? That's all that is. And of course, we want to be able to reset password, but we don't have our lost password page yet. So that's the last piece of the puzzle. So for that, let's go back to our pages. Let's create a new page. Lost password. Let's do that same template. And if you already have a plugin or a code snippet that clones pages, duplicates pages, by all means, you can use that. This trick is just great for not having to install another plugin or code snippet just to do this function. All right, so same process. We're going to copy our login page contents, drop that right in here. All right, first up is, again, the page. We need to make it a white background. Okay, then we need to edit our form because this doesn't apply to password recovery, only for logging in. So we need to remove the remember me. Remove the remember me field comment password. Okay, so we remove that one. Now we need to edit, the username's fine. We need to edit the password option. And for that, we need to go under advanced, and there's this pattern option here. And this is really important. This is where we dictate that the password must be complex, because if we don't do that, you can put in the simplest password in the world, and we do not want that. So I provide a code snippet within the guide. It's not even a code snippet. I keep saying that. It's just a snippet of text. Drop that right in here. Again, the pattern is used to define the password requirements. This particular pattern we're using creates the requirements shown below. And if you enter the words password patterns into any search engines, you can learn more about it and find different patterns that if this doesn't work for you. But what this is going to do is 8 characters minimum, require at least one letter, require at least one number, and require at least one special character. Okay? But again, this is very critical that you do this part, otherwise people can use whatever they want, and it's not good. Okay, for the pattern message, you can put whatever you want in there, but I provide something for you, and you can copy and paste that in here. And it basically just gives them what I just told you, the requirements. Okay, next up is buttons. Obviously, we don't want to say login. We want to say reset password or something to that effect. Content reset password. Sorry, checking up on my notes here. Okay, that unlocks the under actions after submit. We want to take out login again. We want to make sure that's out of there. We want to change this to reset password. Then we want to edit the reset password action. For login ID, we want to map that to username. For password, we want to map that to password. We want to reset through a link. Again, you can use a one-time password, SMS, whatever you want to do. We want that to go out over email. Let me see what else we got here. Email settings. Sorry that my timer here is hiding that. Email settings. So again, who it's from, what's the subject, send as, and you can change that to HTML if you want to put some stuff in there. But by default, it's going to say, hi, use the following link to reset your password. I did that a bit differently. I don't have it in front of me, but I basically just manipulated this a bit. I didn't want this to all be in the same line. So I just put some line breaks in there and put the short code down towards the bottom. So totally up to you what you want to do there, but that default didn't work for me there. What else? Oh yeah, there's another option too. I didn't try it, but there's an option. Let me think of where it is here. Yeah, instead of you can do a pop-up. I did not play with this, but you could do an Elementor pop-up here to do something. Pretty cool stuff. So what did I do there? Additional settings. Did I do anything there? Oh yeah, so the success message, I don't think I changed anything. Yeah, I left the additional settings alone. I then jumped down to additional options. Custom message is already toggled on, but if you're doing this from scratch, you'd have to toggle that on. I changed the success message to read this, and you can get this from the guide. Your password was reset successfully. Okay, and then for the error message, I kept that cleared out to prevent duplication. For the registration, this isn't needed because it's for resetting a password, so we can take that out. We don't need social login for resetting a password. We take that out. What else? I think that's it. Reset password. We don't need this one. That's a duplicating feature. Yep, take that out. That should be it for that. So let's go ahead and test that out. So here we go. Let's pretend like we need to reset our password. Let's click on that link. There we go. It takes us to our lost password page we created. Here it is. Put in our username. Let me find the username in here. I'll just copy my email address. Oops. All right, I'll just type it in. You are already logged in. Okay, that makes sense. Let's get logged out here. So let's go back to our login screen. Let's log out. Now let's reset password. There we go. There is our custom text. Please check your email for the instructions to reset your password. Again, you can change that to whatever text you want it to read. Speaking of that, translation, I got links to the local translate guide that I wrote, but it's very simple. If you want to change the wording that Action Pack provides or WP social login, you can change all that stuff. The last thing I want to mention is to test everything. Super important. Run through this. I spent hours doing this to write this documentation. Test everything. Run through everything. Are the emails being sent? Do the emails say the right thing? This is regardless of whether you use what we're doing here or MyListing by default, out of the box, everything. You should be doing this every time, no matter what. Are the emails being sent? Do the emails say the right things and contain the right content? How do the messages look when the forms are successfully filled out? How about when there's an error message? Are redirections working as expected? How about role-based redirections? the social login work for all of the providers you implemented. Okay, test all that stuff, guys. All right, I think that about does it, but this is the end product. Again, if you don't want to go through all this yourself, you're still going to have to go through the guide somewhat, but if you don't want to design this stuff yourself, grab the templates if you're a club member, or even if you're not, sign up, get these templates. Let me see if, let me click this link. Let me just show you all these real quick. So that's the login page. That's the register page. And then this is the reset password page. Okay. So really clean stuff, ready to go out of the box. When the starter site launches, you can use that in a live environment to just compare what I did to what you've done so far or what you're going to do. But again, these pages do not have to look this similar. You could have a different background image for each page. You could have no background image. You could do some pop-ups. You could do, I wouldn't do pop-ups, but you could do like something that adds more information here, or something that talks about your packages, the quote of the day. I mean, the sky is the limit here. You could not do this with MyListing out of the box. That's why I did all this. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please, please, please take 3 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever it is, to subscribe to my channel. It helps me out. It doesn't cost you anything. I spent a lot of time on these guides, 3 days on this guide, probably an hour on this video. I don't know how long it's been going. That's all I ask in return, other than sign up to be a club member. All right. Thanks, guys, and talk to you later.